fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
Right, welcome back to From 8 Arbitration, Monday edition. It's a very special edition. It's a very special edition because it has some very special individuals to me. It's the women of the CLC. And y'all are going to enjoy this episode. It's Women's History Month. We wanted to do this a few weeks ago. It's still in March, but it's almost the end of March. But we couldn't get everybody together, but we finally got everybody together. This is something that I really wanted to do. And so Pam Donato got it all together for me, got everybody situated so they could be on. I'm not going to speak. I'm going to let them talk today. It's a very special episode, like I said, because these women are extremely special to me. The women of the CLC. You're going to see power. You're going to see fortitude. You're going to see passion. You're going to see a will to win and a never give up attitude is what you're going to see. And I think you're going to come away with exactly what I did when I heard it. A newfound respect for the women of the NALC. So tomorrow I'll have another episode. All right. You won't want to miss it. I have the Wolf, James Henry on. He's going to be on a little bit, but I'm going to talk to you. It's just going to be me and you, light blue. We're going to talk for a little bit. All right. And it's going to be one of those where you're going to want to make sure that the volume is down when you're riding around your route, if you know what I'm talking about. We got some things to talk about, me and you, light blue. Okay. But that's enough of me. It's about the women today. You're going to hear the women of the CLC. You're going to be impressed, I promise you. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow with another episode. We're going to get funky a little bit, but you'll also have the Wolf, James Henry. I love y'all. Have a fantastic day tomorrow. Enjoy this. Enjoy this. What you're fixing to hear from these wonderful ladies, okay? I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye. All right. I've got the Magnificent Seven. It's 6 right now, but should be Magnificent Seven. It's the 7 women of the CLC. And Women's History Month, this is something we've been talking about for a while because these women are absolutely incredible. Each one of them doing their own part. They're going to tell you about themselves. You will see why James Henry targeted these women to be on the CLC slate. I mean, these are ones that he absolutely went after to say, hey, I need you, your experience, what you bring to the table. You'll see why, because they are special individuals. I love each one of them. The more that we've been around each other, the more impressed I am. And so I can't wait for y'all to hear from these ladies of the CLC. But Women's History Month, we were going to try to do it a few episodes ago. Did not get it worked out where all of us were together, but we've got it now. And so I'm going to hand it over to Miss Pam Donato, who a lot of y'all have heard from, and you understand her passion, her love, which is what all of this is about. They're going to talk about hope. And that's generally what we talk about, or what we hear most when we go to different places. When carriers talk about the CLC, it's hope, the hope that they're bringing back to this union, to the city letter carrier craft. And so I'm going to get out of the way and I'm going to let them have it. But ladies, thank you so much for coming on and talking to the city letter carrier, telling them your stories, which are all unique and amazing, just like y'all. And so I'm going to let y'all have it. Y'all enjoy, and I will talk to y'all later, all right?
All right.
All right.
Corey.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Corey.
much, Corey. Corey, thanks a lot for the time, and we appreciate the space to meet here with our sisters with the CLC. My name is Pam Donato. I'm a retired letter carrier out of Minneapolis, Branch 9. And I'm running for Director of Retirees with the CLC on their amazing slate. I'm proud to be on that slate. I've been in Minneapolis my whole career as a carrier, worked my way through the ranks, and was a steward, part-time officer, eventually became executive vice president, and then served as president for about 5-6 years until President Rolando asked me to come out to headquarters and work as his special assistant. I did that for 7 years out at headquarters, worked as the community and membership outreach, which is all of our community services. And I retired in 2018, both from the Postal Service and from the NALC. I've stayed active with my branch and am really proud to be here today to talk about the good works of a lot of good people in the CLC and in the NALC as a whole. I'd like to introduce next Kamitra Lewis. Kim?
Hi, my name is Kamitra Lewis. I am the candidate on the CLC slate for the position of Vice President. I am currently the NALC Branch 132 President here in Dallas, Texas. My history goes back as far as 1994. That's when I became involved with NALC, and my first position was a shop steward. I was a steward for a long period of time, and then I graduated up to be the full-time formulae for my branch. I also have served Region 10 as an arbitration advocate and as a dispute resolution team member. As I said, I am currently the president of the second largest branch in the state of Texas, and I have a lot of work on my hand, but I truly love the work that I'm doing, and I have enjoyed not so much the fight with management, but what I've enjoyed most was the justice being served. So I'll pass it on to Debbie Dixon.
Mitra, this is Debbie Dixon. I am running for Region 2 NBA on the CLC slate. I am currently in Branch 351, Olympia, Washington. I started in 1987, so been around for 39 years. And in that 39 years, I started in upstate New York, worked in Spokane, Washington, and landed in Olympia. Pretty much had every position in my branch except for Sergeant at Arms. I don't think I'm tall enough for Sergeant of Arms. But then I was, Director of Education for Washington State on the first Safety Task Force for Seattle District. And then I was on DRT for several years. And in 2015, early in 2015, I became the RAA for Region 2. And I was let go of that position 3 weeks after announcing that I was running for NBA on the CLC slate. So I am now back delivering mail. I'm enjoying it. I like being on the work floor, and honestly, I think it is going to make me an even better NBA than I would have been not being on the workroom floor.
All
So,
right.
yes,
I like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
very
I'm liking
good.
it.
Very good, Deb.
So I am going to pass this off to Ethel.
Hi, I'm Ethel Bibbs, president of Branch 842 here in Beaumont, Texas. I am running for the position of AFL-CIO on the CLC slate. I have been a steward for 2 years here in Beaumont. Then I was the vice president for another 2 years. Then I became the president of my branch for the last 4 years. I love what I do. I have a passion for what I do, and I stand firm on the position of what I have. And I love being a part of this wonderful CLC team. I love the voice of being a part of having a change and making things better for everyone that's a part of NALC. And I'm just glad to be here. So now I want to turn it over to my girl, Anita.
Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. My name is Anita Guzik. I am a full-time officer in Los Angeles, Branch 24 since 1989, first as recording secretary and currently as field representative. Prior to that, I was in Michigan, Branch 4570, now merged with Branch 3126 as recording secretary, then president for 7 years. prior to me transferring to California. Thank you.
All right.
All right, I think that leaves us Dana.
Hi, I'm Dana Chambliss. I am running with the CLC for National Business Agent of Region 8. I am currently the president of Branch 4, Nashville, Tennessee, the largest branch in our region. I started my career in 1996 as a PTF. As soon as I was hired, I became secretary of my branch and haven't stopped since. That was a small branch of about 20 members. I've went through the ranks and went all the way up to president of that branch. In 2011, I transferred to Mandeville, Louisiana, where I was vice president of branch 6377. And then turned around 2013, transferred to Nashville, Tennessee, where I started out as sergeant at arms, was treasurer, vice president, and eventually 2022 became president of that branch. And I am in my second term as president. And I am excited to be on the CLC slate because I'm with people who are like-minded, who want to do things that are good for the membership. And we all have this drive to be better. And that's what I'm enjoying about this. And that's what I want to do for our membership.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Dana, and thanks, everybody. So what a powerful group. I mean, every time I talk to you guys, it amazes me, the background and the things that you've all gone through. We've had a couple of conversations about this podcast before we got here, trying to find how we wanted to operate and navigate. And at first it was frustrating because we had so many ideas and so many different thoughts about what we wanted to accomplish. But, like we have done all of our careers, I think you find an answer that works for everybody and serves the membership as a whole really well. So I'm excited to go forward with the subjects that we've got picked out here. First and foremost, we thought that on the top of everyone's mind, certainly on our mind as letter carriers, is pay. Now, we've all come from different backgrounds, maybe some different employment in the past, but pay is usually why you stay. And it's certainly on the top of the mind of every letter carrier who's active in the NELC as we're in contract negotiations. There's no one on this group here that has more experience in letter carrier pay than Anita Guzik. Anita really does have a background and a history that I think would be helpful for all of us to remind ourselves of. Anita, you want to talk a little bit about pay and your history with the NELC?
Thank you, Pam. And again, good afternoon, sisters and brothers. First, I'd like to start out with some history. Right out of high school, I applied for a job at the post office department, the phone company, the gas company, and the electric company. All of them offered me a job, but I selected the post office for one reason, because they paid the women the same as the men. And well, also a funny story. When I was 6 years old, I had just moved to Adrian, Michigan with my family, and I was just learning to read. One day, I found a postcard from my cousin, the same age, on the ground between our house and the neighbor's house. I ran into the house to show my mom what I found on the ground, and she said, airmail. I was so impressed that that plane could swoop down and be so accurate dropping that postcard. So I always had a little thing about the post office anyways. I hired in at $2.95 an hour in Farmington, Michigan. At that time, it took 21 years to reach top pay, which at that time was $4.06 per hour. By 1970, full-time employees started out at $6,176. And after 21 years of hard work, they averaged only $8,442. It was a struggle just to survive on these wages and support families, especially in big cities. Plenty of postal workers actually qualified for food stamps. I remember our supervisor trying to recruit gas pump guys who made more than we did. After years of debating but not acting on raising the pay, Congress finally acted, sort of. In March of 1970, I remember the guys being furious when Congress gave themselves a 40% increase and gave us just a few percent that was way less than the rate of inflation. This was the last straw. On March 17th, New York City letter carriers voted to defy the law and go on strike. Clerks and other postal workers refused to cross their picket lines. Then the wildcat strike within a few days spread across the country. By the following week, 200,000 postal workers from New England to California had walked off the job. In our branch, we took a vote of all the members, I think about 100 at that time. There was only one vote against us going out, so we all went out on strike. Our union president, Bill Rentz, drove to Detroit and got us a bunch of picket signs. For me, I was only 19 years old at the time and with very little time invested. But I was so impressed by the guys with 20, 25 years at stake, and they still stood tall and went out on strike. At first, President Nixon was hardcore and dispatched about 23,000 National Guard and Armed Forces personnel to sort and deliver the mail. But without proper training, there was no way they could do the job. I mean, we all know how it was when we first started. Finally, Nixon figured out that we needed mail carriers. So they went into serious bargaining with postal unions. We reached a preliminary agreement and postal workers went back on the job. After a final agreement was hammered out about a month later in 1970, postal workers won a 6% wage increase. And that summer, President Nixon signed the Postal Reorganization Act that gave the postal workers an additional 8%. And he granted us all amnesty. From 1975 to 1978, our pay increased by over 22%. And from 1978 to 81, our pay increased by over 31%. So we were getting some pretty good raises to catch us up at that time. Oh, yeah. Then in 1978, the contract was rejected by the members because the NALC union president, then Joe Vaca, reached a tentative agreement that put a cap on the COLA. After that sound rejection, the contract went to arbitration, and arbitrator Healy uncapped the cost of living allowance. A few months later, Sombrado, and this was his fourth run as president, was elected president of the NALC in 1978. Then in 1981, under Sombrado, we were again right on the edge of going out on strike over a two-tier wage system. By this time, I was president of my Michigan branch 4570, and I can still remember a bunch of us making picket signs in my garage. The carriers were plotting strategy, like throwing tacks all over the post office parking lot for entryways. One guy who was a Vietnam veteran, and he said, "Anita, I know how to make bombs." I told him, "No, we're not going to blow up anything." By then, Sombrado held, back then, Sombrado held tight and would not agree to a two-tier wage table, and the Postal Service backed off at the 11th hour. So here we are today, with wages significantly reduced under a two-tier wage table, as you can clearly see the difference between Table 1 and Table 2, and that chart speaks for itself. Add the prorated COLA, and now those at the lower steps getting only 62% of the full COLA increase. Right now, statistics reflect that about 27% of U.S. families are supported by single parents. And of that 27%, about 54% are women. Now, if the Postal Service is a microcosm of the U.S. population, that would be about the same for us. Under the current times, with skyrocketing inflation, we are just not making enough for families to cover the basic necessities of healthcare, groceries, gas, and rent. As I was researching to make sure my numbers were accurate, I saw a Google clip from an APWU site that said, quote, "Postal workers emerged as the profession most in need of a pay raise, with respondents suggesting that they earn $16,400 more than their current salary." So if you add that to our current top pay, that would give us $47.23 hourly. However, seeing that our work is harder than the UPS workers, I believe we should get at least the same $49 an hour that they get. And that, brothers and sisters, is why I'm supporting the CLC slate that will fight harder for us, and you should too. Thank you.
Oh, God. Anita, thanks so much, man. I got goosebumps when I heard some of those numbers, sister, and it's just amazing. I mean, for me personally, I can tell you I benefited from the collective outrage and strike of those in the 70s. Because when I came in the mid 80s, I was getting all that good pay that you guys watched incrementally come up. And so now it's kind of a tough pill to swallow that we've got to go back and go back to our roots and learn how to organize and how to stand up and fight for what we want. We want a fair pay system, and we want to make sure that there aren't two tiers of pay with people doing the same exact work making a lot less money and taking a lot longer to get to top pay. That's for sure.
I'm grateful that Anita shared that history with us, and I'm hoping that those that hear it take heed and receive it, because I think we need to embrace our history. I think we need to understand where we came from and where we are today, and be appreciative of the fight that members like Anita and others fought for us, and then we need to continue that same fight going into the future. It's very important that we put the right people in position, and because we had the right people serving us at that time, we are benefiting at this point in our careers.
Fully agree. Kamitra, one of the reasons why we kind of got together is because what is March? Women's History Month. So the women of the CLC getting together and taking a look, not about separating us, but about recognizing us. And everything that Anita just said just blows my mind, that we have somebody with us in the CLC that can give us that history, can put us in the right direction. And because it's not just about the past, it's about inspiring those in the future. So everything she just talked about, looking at Women's History Month quickly, I saw that it started as a day in California in 1978. And then it went to a week in 1980 with Jimmy Carter, president. And then it took Congress to make it a Women's Month. And I love the year of this because it's when I started in the post office in 1987. Our history as women need to be talked about no matter what we're doing, not about separating, but about the recognition and moving on, moving forward, learning from good, inspirational talks like Anita just gave us. I think it's excellent. Thank
Learning
you.
from someone who's actually been there, and that means a lot. And that's why I really take to Anita and stick close with her, because she knows, she's been there. She can keep me guided in the right direction. And I love that about Anita.
It is inspiring to know, to go that far back and to see how far we've come, and not, like you said, not just to separate us, but just to recognize that, if you look back when I started in 96, I mean, you didn't have that many women. And I know a lot of y'all have been there longer than me. There weren't that many women involved.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started in the small branch, it was all men, a man president, a man vice president, a man, and you just waited. And anytime a position opened and nobody wanted it, they say, "Oh, Dana, do you want this?" Of course, I'll take it, because I'd take anything. I just wanted to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, my mom was very involved in the union. So she was my mentor. And I just knew when I was in high school that when I got hired, that's what I wanted to do, was to represent letter carriers and move forward with that. And going through the years, the struggle was real, because you were never in that position to, "Oh, here, this one's for you," or
Mm-hmm.
to this. It was always, you just had to wait and wait and wait. And when I came to Nashville, had been a president before. I'd been a vice president. I'd been a secretary. I've done shop steward, formal way, informal way. I went to Leadership Academy, all these things, and I wasn't even utilized. And that's what I like about the CLC, because we are all in this to utilize the best people we have in
Mm-hmm.
positions for the membership, not for the next people up or the next one up and all of that. And it was a struggle.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, they didn't use me. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go help another branch. So I went to another branch office and I helped them.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of sitting there doing nothing, your heart, your passion, it gets to you. So you want to fulfill that. So that's what I did. And then I ran for sergeant at arms and started getting involved and getting positions in my branch. And then when it came, my president decided, after I think 15, 16 years, however long he was president, decided to retire. I kept hearing around the office all this guy's name, that guy's name, this guy's. I'm like, wait a minute now. Nobody even talked to me, or my name was never brought up. Like, okay, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen. Never. And I'm like, it's very disappointing. It's sad. You know, it makes you feel like I've struggled all these years to get to where I am. And not once did anybody look at me, say, okay, she's done some time. She's come through the ranks and did what she had to do. And I went into his office one day. I said, well, if you're running next term, he said, no, I'm not. I said, okay, well, I am. I don't know who else is running. Nobody ever came out and said they were running, but I said, I'm going to run, and it's going to turn out how it's going to turn out, because I believe if you have that passion in your heart and that fight, you're just going to keep going. And if you don't get it, you tried. And it not just for women, but I believe this is for anybody right now, because it's not divided. It should be anybody who has that passion and wants to fight. That's what we need to do. And don't let anybody hold you back or tell you that you can't do it or wait your turn. If that's something that you feel in your heart and you want to do it, then you need to do it. And that's why I really enjoy talking to all of y'all, because the history, y'all have dealt with a lot of things that I've dealt with. And you don't get to talk to people that much who have dealt with those things that are in positions. And so it's really, to me, exciting to have a group of women who I can sit down and just talk, and y'all know, y'all understand. And I know there's so many more out there who know and understand. So maybe this can help them. But like I said, running for national business agent, that's because I want everybody to be treated equal. And if they are in a position and they have the qualifications, or if they have the desire, or if they the passion, then we should be utilizing them and not holding people back. So that's my story.
I appreciate that.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Because yeah, you move from a couple of different branches, and
Correct.
each time you ended up in a leadership position, and that's not by accident. That's not by taking a turn. That's because you're a leader. The first time I met you, that came across really strong, and I'm impressed at your background that you've been able to move from all those branches and take on bigger positions, and now president of Nashville. That's a big branch and a very important area, and I'm impressed. I think women always find a way in general, but you've really proven it that if your heart's in it, you can find a way.
I appreciate that. And like I said, it is rewarding, and what better month to get the achievements and the struggle for equality that we've had to be able to celebrate this. But not only the biggest branch in Nashville, I'm Corey's president. That's a problem.
That's the other thing. That's
Yay!
commendable for sure. Yeah, you can boss Corey around. I love that. And Kimmy,
just the fact that she can handle all the management barbs from Corey being in her branch shows she can handle anything.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
That's good. Kimmy,
That's
I know
awesome.
your path in leadership has certainly been commendable as well.
Yeah, it's similar to what Dinah just described. It was a struggle. It was just a struggle to get me to go to the Leadership Academy. I remember the national business agent that we had at the time was Jean Goodwin. And Jean said, Kim, why haven't you gone to the Leadership Academy? And I was like, well, Jean, I've been doing a number of things in the branch, and I didn't think that the Leadership Academy was for people who had already been involved. I thought it was just for new people. And when it first came out, and he was like, no, you need to go. Well, Jean just signed me up as my mentor. My own branch would not be, no one in my branch would be a mentor for me. But the national business agent did. And he did it. And it was very contentious in how he did it, because he had to confront the officers of my branch. And he told me, he said, he went to him and said, every time I've come to you and asked you for someone to do arbitration, be an arbitration advocate, you said Kemitra Lewis. When I've asked you for other things, you said Kemitra Lewis. Now that Kemitra Lewis has said she wants to be president, Now you want to stifle her. You want to hold her back. You want to keep her from moving forward. He said, no, I'm sending Kimitra Lewis. And that's how I got to go to the Leadership Academy. And I will forever be grateful to Gene for that because he took a stand with me. And shortly after that, he was no longer our MBA and we had a new MBA. But I like I said, I decided I wanted to run for the position of president. And when I made that known, I was told that the position of president was not slighted. And you're going to be shocked when I tell you this. I was told that the position of president was not slated for a Black person, that it was actually slated that the position of vice president was, and that I should run for vice president. And that came from the mouth of our vice president, who was Black as
Wow.
well.
Not okay.
He also told me that the branch would never elect a Black person as president, let alone a female. I ran 3 times. I lost 3 times, but I didn't give up.
There you go.
That-
You and Vince,
Yeah.
Kim.
Good
you and
job,
Vince.
sister.
And one of the reasons why I didn't, I had already learned how to persevere because in every position that I did ever receive from NALC, it was because something happened. I was certified as a DRT member back in 2003. I was not placed on a DRT team, not even to take somebody's a break, like if somebody went on vacation and take their spot. I was not placed on a DRT team until 2009.
Oh my God.
6 years. And the only reason why I was given that position is the person that was serving in that position passed away.
Okay.
Everything I've gotten, it's been delayed. It has been, and that's the route I took. That was my journey. They never would give me anything unless it was a dire necessary. They had to. Had nobody else, let's get Kim. But my mindset, because I love what I'm doing, I love serving letter carriers. I love making a difference in letter carriers' lives. That even though I had to go through all of that, whenever they threw me a bone, I said, I'll take it.
Yes.
I'll take
Good
it.
job.
And I
Yes.
did. And I've always told other people following behind me to not get discouraged, to do the same thing. Because all it's going to do is going to equip you for the day when you're gonna be in a position where you can use it. And I truly believe that. And here I am
Kim?
today, like I said earlier, the president of the second largest branch in the state of Texas, with close to 3,000 members.
That's awesome.
It's something they told me I wasn't going to be able to do. Something they told
Kim,
me
we're
nobody was
fortunate
gonna
to have
ever-
you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Nobody
we
was
are.
going to vote me in for that position. And here I am now, 10 years in that position.
That's awesome.
So I am grateful to God because he put that spirit in my heart and I wouldn't give up. And I would encourage anybody out there, male or female, if it's something that you want to do and you truly believe that that's your purpose in life, you never give up. I don't care. It doesn't necessarily have to be within this union. It could be somewhere else in life where you feel that this is your purpose. Don't give up
That's right.
because
Good point.
in the end, the reward is greater than what you've gone through to get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kim, the strength that you have shown just to get where you're at is exactly the kind of strength that the NALC needs.
That's right.
Exactly. Yes. I agree.
I agree too.
You know, and the good thing about that, Anita, is that I see it in each and every one of you. I see it in everybody on our slate. The first time I sat down and had a conversation with James, I saw it in James. And that is one of the reasons why I have gravitated to him and to everyone that he has aligned in this slate, because I know we all have that same passion. And that's what it's going to take to change NALC, to make it a greater organization than it like it used to be, Anita, in 1970, like it was. We can get back to that, where we can be proud to say we're letter carriers, proud to wear our NALC logo. We need to get back to that. And I think that CLC will make that happen.
Awesome.
Debbie, I know that you've kind of had a path, especially recently, that's included some detours that maybe you weren't thinking of. Listening to Kim, it reminds me of purpose being a really important part of how you approach life, right? How you feel that every purpose that you have in the current thing that you're doing leads you exactly where you're supposed to be, right? And that's where you are right now. It seems like, being sent back to do work that you love, being
Yes.
a letter carrier is probably just what the doctor ordered to kind of fill your tank.
Yeah. And honestly, I think I said it the day afterwards in a podcast with Corey. I'm going to make lemonade out of lemons.
Mhm.
So that is just me. That is just how I am. Going back to deliver mail, I don't know what the mindset was that I would throw my hands up and quit because I can retire from both the Postal Service and the NALC. No. Just like Kamitra just said, I've got the passion for the letter carriers, and I want to see what I grew up with since I've been 21 years old in the NALC is that camaraderie, the solidarity, and being able to have your own opinion and not being afraid to push it forward. And I see that in James. I've thought differently about some things. I put my voice forward, and I'm not shut down by him or anybody on this slate. And I think that is extremely important to do what's best for the letter carriers. Because if you take 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 opinions and directions, you listen to everybody and you come up with the best direction. You don't shut anybody out or say, no, that's not how it's going to happen. It might be little bits of everything that you hear. But if you're fear mongered into only thinking one way, a certain way, and following one person or one concept, you're never going to get the best concept for the letter carriers on the workroom floor.
Amen.
And
Amen.
that's what we are to be here for.
Yeah.
So for me, going back, I love delivering mail. The one thing that I realized that I miss so much is that the end of the day, you are accomplished. You served your customers, you delivered the mail, you're done for the day. As an RAA, you're never done for the day. Uh, Never ever. It goes on into the evening and the ruminating in the evening. I would have a pad of paper next to my bed and write notes of things that I had to do the next day. But if you're thinking of that as a letter carrier, yeah, it's about service. Oh, I've got to put that or deliver that hold mail tomorrow. They're coming back from vacation. It's about service to the people. And I miss that. I love that. And seeing what everybody goes through on the workroom floor firsthand once again. And I'm sorry that damn word commitment just drives me up a freaking wall. All my people in Region 2 know that. I do not like that word at all. It is something that we have to get rid of on the workroom floor. It messes with your mind. It's an estimate. We estimate our workload. We don't give a commitment. And that is something that's already changed. Had a stand up, and our shop steward, he said a couple things, and that's now changing. One of the girls, I've got to talk to her because she was given bad information about taking days off, and just hearing the little innuendos that go on the workroom floor. Oh, and what about you guys? Have you been on workroom floors and there's no stools at the carrier cases? I know that's a little thing, but it's a thing that we have rights to. Anybody?
We have stools at my station.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well,
I
the
have an
So we,
office
concept,
I have an office in my branch that I'm having to file grievances for because the station manager took them out. But we have stools in all offices except for that one office that we're filing to get them back. But I was thinking, Deb, as you were talking, because the same thing happened to you where you were sent back to carry mail. I was also sent back to carry mail. I had been the full-time formulator for my branch for a number of years. And of course, like I said, when I ran against the then president, the guy that was elected president, once he became president, he did away with my position. We still had a full-time formula, but he removed me from the position. And the person that he replaced me with, so I went back to carrying mail just like you. No problem for me because that's what I hired in for. So when the person he replaced me with was having problems getting the cases resolved, guess what? He asked me to come back again. But this is under these conditions that if anybody called me for assistance, that I would divert that phone call back to the union hall. Don't give them an answer. Have them call the union hall. I said, so you want me to play dumb?
Yeah.
You want me to play like I don't
ain't
know the
happening.
answer?
Yeah.
No,
Like,
ain't
no,
happening.
I'm not doing it.
Good
I'm
for
not
you.
doing it. So I went back and I carried my mail on my route. And that
Yeah.
office needed me just like that office needs you. Because when I
Yeah.
walked there, they weren't doing anything right. Management was getting over on them left and right. So they needed me in that office, just like those carriers are needing you right now.
Yeah.
So it's a reason for why things happen. It really is. And
Absolutely.
you're gonna, I can't answer for you what that reason is, but you're gonna see it.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna see it.
Yes.
Mhm.
And quite honestly, even, us talking and just a little difference in my situation. You mentioned that you were sent back to deliver mail. For me, I would change that wording up a little bit in my situation. I chose. I chose to go back and deliver mail. I chose to still run for NBA, not as an RAA, but as a rank and file letter carrier. And I am very proud and happy to do so. I am proud to be a letter carrier. So, one of the guys texted me when I had gotten terminated, and he said, you taught shop steward colleges, and within them, you always made the comment, I'm a letter carrier just like you. And he said, I never really understood how is that when you don't deliver mail. He said, but now that you have chosen to go back and deliver mail, I fully understand you are a letter carrier just like us. So I really like that comment because I think we all in the CLC, from what I've seen, we all have the right heart. It's not about ourselves individually. It is about the letter carriers on the workroom floor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Debbie,
Ethel, I know you've got a
as the
story.
one who maintains the website, Deborah, I can tell you right now that since they took you off RAA, the signups in support of you have just spiked quite a bit. So you have a lot of support in Region 2.
Yeah.
Well, that is
There
good.
you go, Debbie. There you go, Debbie.
Ethel, why don't you tell us a little bit about your past? I know you've had some role models that have been really pivotal to you.
Yes, Kathy Baldwin. Everyone knows Kathy Baldwin started here in Beaumont, Texas for branch 842. And she's very well known. She started here. She was the president, and then she went to be NBA for our region. And then she went on to our headquarters. And then after her was Brenda Charles. And Brenda Charles was awesome. She was awesome as well. She was Kathy Baldwin's vice president. So that was like, woo, okay. I got to keep it going, keep it going. So when I got here and I saw the previous presidents, and they did their job, but it was kind of slacking. So when the city that's next to us, their president quit, and Houston picked that city up because they didn't have a president, and they wanted to pick us up. And we was like, no, we're going to stand on our own. And so to stand on your own, I mean, you have to stand firm and handle your business as the president of this city. And when I saw that it was slacking some, that made me step up my position and run for president, to take on that reign. And that's what I'm doing because I want to be the next Kathy Baldwin. I want to be the next Brenda Charles. I want to everybody to know, hey, that was Ethel that kept this union going strong and getting us recognized in different positions. And being a part of the CLC as being a part of branch 842 is something different, and it will get me recognized for my branch. So I appreciate being a part with y'all, and I truly believe that, and I truly love being a part with y'all, and I really do. I can't say it enough because knowledge is power, and being around y'all is a bunch of knowledge. And I take heed, and I know that I can just pick up the phone and call any one of y'all, and that's what I like. Because if I don't know anything, if I have a problem with something, I know that all of y'all are just a phone call away. As even as busy as James is, I could just pick up the phone and call him, and he will answer and help me out with anything that I need. But that's my path. I just want to keep the passion and keep it going for Branch 842 just as well as my fellow presidential people did. So that's my story.
That's awesome.
Nice. Good job.
Awesome. Yeah, one of the things that's impressed me with the whole CLC family is the fact that we all love the NALC, and we have a passion, and we have ideas and opinions, and we share them. Every single person is able to freely talk about their idea or their concern. They don't always agree, but they always listen, and nobody holds it against anybody. And that, when I first came in,
Yes.
our general membership meetings in Minneapolis were lively. I mean, I'm talking lively, right? People, I come from a background in a family where if you weren't arguing by the time your milk got poured in your cereal bowl in the morning, something was wrong. Like, our family loved to jaw it up in the morning. And so it fit right into me. Nobody got their feelings hurt. Everybody knew that if we talked through things, if everybody felt heard, if we were able to come to some kind of, a plan through majority rules at that meeting, that we would all live with it and move on to the next challenge. Nobody stayed stuck. And so I've really appreciated the CLC, just a wealth of knowledge from activists all over the country, not just the people that are running, but also the people that we meet out when we go to different cities. They've all got their ear to the ground. They know what's happening, and they need to be heard. And certainly our organization is better when we talk about everything, when we talk about different ideas and then move together, with a consensus of the group. So I appreciate that from all of you.
You also, Pam.
Oh yeah.
Well, communication is huge. And I mean, that's what, to me, I find we're lacking with the NALC. I mean, we have all the candidates who are running for NBA. We meet weekly and we talk and we discuss things. And it's great because it's things that may be happening, like Debbie may know, that I had no clue of, or something's happening in my region that she had no clue of. So we get every Wednesday, we have a meeting and we discuss things. And that's what it's about. It's about getting these discussions and put them across the country, not just limited to certain areas. So I think communication is a huge thing. And I think that's what we're going to move forward with to be able to put this back on track where it should be, is to get that communication back.
Yep.
That's been one
Yes,
of the
to
powerful
to
things.
piggyback on what Dana said, I'd like to give a little commercial before we close out, that join us on the CLC group and sign up on the website concernedlettercarriers.com, and we will give you the option to endorse and be published, to support And if you have any questions that you want answered by the CLC that you want to address to us, that gives you that option as well. So join us and sign up. Thank you.
Good job, Anita.
Good job.
Appreciate that. That's really important. And that's what I was going to say too. In the communication, Dana, you know, is spot on. But one of the things that's been really magical is all the different podcasts. And of course, Corey's giving us the platform here on his podcast. He is the model of, I think, how the voice of letter carriers on the workroom floor is able to be heard now and is able to share ideas and really understand things from a perspective all over the country. And so I think being able to have all of the different podcasts sharing ideas and giving carriers information on a daily basis is amazing.
And I think another thing I think that we would be able to do as a group, the CLC, once elected, we'll be able to start utilizing those people who have been in the same situations that Debbie and I and Dana have found ourselves in, where we had the knowledge, but we weren't being utilized. I think that's what I plan to do. I plan to start utilizing those people when they introduce themselves to me or they make themselves known, that they have the passion, they have the desire, and they have the knowledge. I think we're going to show the way it's supposed to be. We're not going to put people out of positions because we feel threatened that they're going to take our jobs. We're not going to do that.
Mhm.
We're going to open the doors up for everybody who's interested to step up and use their talents. That's what I want us to be able to do. And I truly believe that's what CLC is going to bring to NLC.
And Kamitra, to say something about that, for God's sakes, we go ahead and we have shop steward colleges and we teach to mentor. And why do we teach to mentor? So the person can come up in the ranks, so they can have other positions. If it's a better position, equal position, higher position, what does it matter? We mentor people to do that. But then you get to a certain status and you want to squash the person from even attempting to move up and do something different. That is not union. That
No.
is not unionism. And if we teach it at the lower levels, we got to walk the walk and talk the talk. We got to do both. So if
I
we're going to
agree.
teach it, we need to be doing it.
I agree
That's a good point.
100%.
Good point.
Awesome. Awesome.
Good point.
And that is how we're going to strengthen this union.
There you
So
go.
where we
Yes.
don't have to be at the mercy of the Postal Service, because we have people everywhere prepared and ready to take on the Postal Service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the topics that we also talked about was kind of navigating family life and how that is different for each of us. But for women, sometimes it can be very challenging, right? You're juggling chainsaws, a lot of different responsibilities, along with work and then the additional things you take on inside the union. Debbie, you had worked at headquarters as an RAA on a couple of projects that I thought were really interesting and had to do with navigating family life.
Well, it wasn't at headquarters, it was remotely, but taking a look at the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, I found it to be like a really fascinating read. It tells about the history. It gives definitions on words used, comments that were considered, and EEO's responses to those comments, and how they came to make the actual wording in the act. And I think that is just fascinating, but that's just me. I like stuff like that. But the PWFA, it is codified with the United States Postal Service, enforced and requires the Postal Service to make reasonable accommodations for pregnant women, for women who have childbirth, and then afterwards for lactating, pumping. So that's codified in the Postal Service's handbook, EL 307, reasonable reasonable accommodations. So just to sum it up a little bit is that there's 4 reasonable accommodations that will not cause undue hardship to any employer that they say will need to be accommodated. So one is allowing employees to carry and keep water near and drink as needed. So if a woman who is pregnant needs to have more water than usual, that is exactly what she will get. It doesn't cause a hardship. 2, allowing an employee to take additional restroom breaks. Any of us who have been pregnant know that having that little extra person pushes on your bladder and you need extra breaks, extra bathroom breaks. And so you won't be disciplined. There's no adverse action for extra restroom breaks. And then 3, allowing the employee whose work requires standing to sit and vice versa, sitting to stand. I guess maybe that's one of the reasons why not seeing stools in the on the workroom floor just irritated me to no
that
end.
hit a nerve. Yeah.
Yes, it irritated me. So that will be as needed also. If you're on an all driving route and you need to take an extra break to get out, to move around so you don't cramp up, it is what it is. That would be a reasonable accommodation. And then the 4th thing is allowing an employee to take breaks to eat and drink as needed. So it's not just about water, carrying water with you, it's actually eating and drinking. That little one inside of us, we need extra food sometimes, and sometimes it's the weirdest kind of food, but it is what it is. But all of these things, I found it very interesting in the sense of management cannot ask you for medical documentation, diagnosis with something that is not going to cause them an undue hardship. If it's a reasonable accommodation and you say, my back's hurting me, can somebody carry or take out this 50-pound, 70-pound package for me, that should be done right then and there. And if the Postal Service is requiring you to fill out forms, completely improper. The Federal Registry will tell you that. There is not a specific form. And it can be as easy as, hey, my back is hurting today. I'm pregnant. Everybody knows I'm pregnant. And I need help with this. It should be as simple as that. And that reasonable accommodation of somebody else taking that 50-pound package out should be done. So I think that more women need to know what those rules are, but quite honestly, not just the women.
Yeah.
I think it's the men who need to know also so they can be there for their sisters on the workroom floor to insist that management help them when they are pregnant.
Right.
So with our time, I would just like to, on the CLC website, on aid arbitration with Corey, I would like to send and have them post the Federal Register. And I can put the page numbers down, the columns and so forth to find these things. But it is just very interesting to me. Obviously, it's women who have children, and I cannot believe that it took until June of 2024 for this to be implemented. We've had women in the Postal Service who have had issues and they're pushed too much and too far by management because management wants to tell them, well, you're not on light duty. You've got to do what everybody else does. And it's just ridiculous. It's common sense. And I love that the interpretive guide, it's called Appendix A in the Federal Register. It goes on to give examples, and it's just common sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's for a temporary period of time, and the accommodation should be done. So a lot more to it. I could go on and on, but I won't. I'll condense it and put it on the websites for anyone to see. Okay.
And we also talked about some things that were not on the Federal Register, like just the uniform issues that carriers have, trying to find when they're going, in a pregnancy, find uniforms that properly fit them and make them look professional.
And true enough, however, the Federal Register does go into about change of uniforms. If people need larger uniforms, larger clothing. So, yes, we would like all of us to look professional when we're out there in the public. But if your clothing needs to be different than what an actual uniform is for a period of 3 months, 4 months, this allows for that to happen.
Awesome.
That's good news, Debbie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, you bet. You bet.
You would think by now we would have maternity wear for women
Right.
after all these years, so that at least they could be in uniform and be professional out in the public and be able to be comfortable.
What I
Okay,
like
so
what
as-
Debbie said is in educating the men, because when they talked about the report about breastfeeding and management having to allow time for a new mom to breastfeed, I brought it to the attention of my branch, and one guy in particular, he made a joke of it. And I think that men need to take this serious. They need to understand, what we've gone through and how long like you said, took to 2024 for this to come about. I was a pregnant mom, carrying my son, and I know how hard it can be delivering male and trying to be a mom, so I think men need to be more sensitive to our needs when we have to take time to sit, to eat, and to breastfeed our children. So I am grateful for those new changes, and I appreciate you, Debbie, for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, you bet.
So does anyone want to kick off as we kind of close out today and our discussion here? We thought we might go around and end on a positive note and talk about things that actually inspire us or where we find hope for the future. Debbie, do you want to start?
Well, go ahead, and I'll just simply say, for me, the hope is already there. And what I mean by that is it's in the CLC. The CLC is there for the letter carriers. Is everything going to be perfect? Is everything going to be easy? It took us many years to get in the position that we're in with the NALC. It's not going to happen overnight where we can pull ourselves out of this. But I see hope in all of the same-minded people within the CLC in wanting to do what's right for the letter carriers. It's not about status. It's not about an individual. It's about all of us as brothers and sisters in the NALC. So that's where I see hope, and I'm running in that direction.
Awesome. How about you, Ethel? Where do you find hope, sister?
Pretty much the same thing that I see hope that CLC get things back to where it used to be, to where we're all just proud to be a part of NALC, a proud letter carrier, to where we all be on the same line, wanting the same thing instead of all trying to get ahead of everybody else. I just see hope in everybody just making it, wanting to get to the same finish line, just getting it back to the old way, like Anita said. Let's get back to what it used to be. That's where I see hope at.
Well, Anita, she summoned you forward.
That's it.
Okay, I just want to say that in addition, I think my sisters have pretty much covered what we need to do with the NALC. So just for a little housekeeping, as we close in on this election, we have to get out the vote.
Mm-hmm.
We have to make sure
Yes.
our members
That's it.
vote.
That's it.
So
Yes.
that should be first and foremost for us once these ballots go out. So to our sisters and brothers of the CLC, thank you for listening to us, and until we meet again, thank you.
All right, Kim, how about you?
I want to remind our brothers and sisters that we follow the lead of those that were in charge when we voted this last time and all the years before. And I say we because I did too. It is time for us to do something different. It didn't work. It may have worked in the past in other elections, but it did not work in this last one. The membership resoundingly voted no for that TA that we're still living with. We need to remember that. We don't need to forget about that. And sometimes that's what happens. The closer we get to elections, we have a memory loss. We don't need to do that. We need to remember exactly what happened, remember the mistake we made, and be determined that we won't do it again. So my hope is that we won't lose our memory and that we will cast votes and that we will
Yes.
be voting for CLC.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
that's awesome. Well, I think I'm the last one left, and I would have to say that, having gone around the country quite a bit, traveling with other CLC candidates and meeting other members at their branch functions where we get invited, being able to talk to them, I'm hopeful because those people show up and they're talking about things that I know the carriers on the workroom floor are talking about. They're talking about pay. They're talking about two-tier systems. They're talking about benefits. They're talking about start times. They're talking about things that impact their daily life, how they're trying to navigate. They still show up at those events, not because they want to yell, but because they're looking for somebody that can help lead them. And when people are willing to do that, when they're willing to open their mind and come to an event, share ideas, hear the message, and when we leave those cities, we come away with a lot of positive encouragement that we're in the right direction, that we are leading this membership where it wants to go. So I'm hopeful because I've seen the hope in the faces of these carriers that come out to the picnics, come out to the branch meetings, come out to the breakfasts, and they tell us that we are their hope. So I am grateful for the opportunity to see them, to talk with them, and to take their message forward. So that's my hope. I guess as we're closing out tonight, we just want to thank everyone for their time, especially thank Corey for allowing us to use his platform. And we hope that we've been able to speak in a way that resonates with you. We appreciate your time, and we encourage all of you to go to concernedlettercarriers.com and please like and share and pass along the message of the CLC on all social media challenges. Thanks, everybody, and thanks to all of you ladies here tonight.
Thank you.
Good job, Pam.
Thank you.
Thanks, sisters.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.